My name's Julian Wild. I'm a London-based artist, and I've been asked to come and make a sculpture here at Sculptor in the Parklands, and I'm working here in the Board workshops. I'm working on this sculpture here. This is the model for it. It's called System Number 30, and over the last 2 years I've been collecting pieces like these objects, which I find really interesting, these cogs and gears and that kind of thing, and I've been collecting them over the last couple of years to build this sculpture with. So in a sense it's a kind of archaeology almost into this sort of industrial history of the place, and I suppose a kind of homage to the highly skilled kind of engineering work that goes on here. So if I talk about this piece a bit, essentially the idea is to create this elliptical form at the front of the sculpture, which is followed by this trail, which is meant to be almost like a line of trajectory that's following this piece. So the idea is this piece will look like it's a kind of skimming stone that's bouncing across the surface of the canal, because actually when it goes out into the site it's going to be positioned in the canal. I've already made a slight kind of change to the plan, so this bit will not be like this anymore. It's actually going to be made from something similar to this, so quite a sleek steel finish. The idea being that you really get a sense of this kind of the speed of the line of this piece travelling across the water. So what I'm doing here is I'm just marking out the arcs that the piece will be making as it bounces across the surface of the canal. So I'm just marking it out on the floor in the workshop so that when it goes out onto the canal it fits onto its foundations. All right, so the first bit of the project that I'm trying to make is this elliptical form, which is at the head of the piece. So I made back in my studio in London this fiberglass mould, which is essentially a quarter of this piece here. And now what I'm doing is I'm laying these pieces of found material inside the mould, and I'm welding them into it so that we can get the perfect shape. They're not randomly chosen. I mean, they're all objects that I've collected I started collecting them, and then the lads here at Board have been collecting them for me as well. So I've got a big pile of scrap that I'm kind of going through. So I'm trying to pick out objects that I think are interesting, that look like they've got a kind of history to them, that they've served a function, like the kind of cogs and sprockets and that kind of thing. And the reason I'm using the grinder is to clean off the rust that's on this metal. I mean, a lot of it is very, very rusty, and at the point where it's being welded, the metal needs to be really clean so that you get good adhesion on the joint. Okay, so what we're doing here is we're rolling these sections of box steel through this old machine, which has been kind of serviced and reconditioned, so that we can try and create these curves that will become part of the sculpture eventually, so that you get the arches of the skimming stone. Yeah, a bit more than that probably, but yeah. We'll become more resolved about the decision to go with this box section steel, so something sleeker for the arch part of the piece. So that's been quite a major thing, I think, and it's getting long. It's a bit longer as well, but I also feel like at the moment I'm getting more of a relationship going between the piece that I'm making in here and the bog. So I've been out a bit more and been looking at the sides and really getting a kind of feel for how it's going to work between what we've got in here and what we're having outside. Back home, I'll kind of work. If I've got a big job on, I get people to come and help, but quite often they're sort of, from an artistic background, which is great, but actually it's fantastic working with engineers who know how to use bits of kit like this, and just feel like I'm in good hands, really.